Hello, good evening. And today I'll be talking about SGLT2 inhibitors, dapagliflozin, and its various effects. And I'll be talking about three important trials: declofenac and DAPA-HF and DAPA-CKD. We all know that over the years, the populations of diabetic patients has been increasing worldwide, and nowadays we see diabetic patients in almost every corner, every aspects of the patient's population, be it in institutional patients or be it in outdoor-based patients. Therefore, this increasing burden of diabetic populations is posing not only practical point of view of treating them, treating the complications, the comorbidities, but also it poses a huge financial burden also. So we all know that this is a major health issue that has reached an alarming levels. Nearly 500 million of people are living with diabetes worldwide. And the National Health Policy 2017 of India aims to increase the screening and the treatment of 80% of people with diabetes and reduce the premature deaths from diabetes by 25% by 2025. So this is one of the important aspects of global burden of diabetes mellitus, type 2 diabetes mellitus. And it has been seen that the increasing burden of type 2 diabetes mellitus is from 463 million in 2019 to a projected 2045 of 700 million. So almost 51% increase in the total diabetic patients. And if we are talking about Southeast Asia, it has a staggering 74% increase in diabetes cases. Therefore, a large amount of patients, millions of patients are suffering from this deadly disease. And in a multi-country study conducted in Asia, approximately 50% of the Indian respondents had poor diabetes control. That is one of the most important aspects. And most patients initially respond to sulfonylurea and or metformin, and later these agents lose their effectiveness with time. So we do have some cheaper drugs to treat at the initial phase, and patients always wants to be treated with these drugs because it's cheaper, and at the same time it can easily control the blood sugar. However, the long-term effects of not maintaining the sustained level of the euglycemic, the normal sugar level, and along with their complications is definitely very high whenever we are prescribing these. Along with that, the overall cardiovascular benefit has not been seen with some of the drugs. Therefore, in the long run, they are detrimental. Patients with type 2 DM on metformin monotherapy frequently require treatment intensification with another anti-hyperglycemic medications over time. So metformin has always been there as a first-line drug therapy whenever we are prescribing of type 2 DM patients. It has shown its excellent efficacy and excellent safety profile. Therefore, metformin is always the first choice. But it is not possible to achieve the targeted blood sugar level with monotherapy with metformin alone. So we do need some other drugs. And in that scenario, what else we can prescribe along with metformin? That is today's seminar. Whether we can go with other cheaper drugs, or we can go with some insulin, or whether we can do some other drugs which are shown to be important cardiovascular safety as well as renal safety. And definitely I'm talking about SGLT2 inhibitors. And SGLT2 inhibitors, which is a sodium glucose co-transporter 2 inhibitors, a new class of oral anti-diabetic drugs, have garnered considerable attention in the recent past and are considered potential first-line candidates for the management of type 2 diabetes. And the published data has highlighted the benefits of SGLT2 inhibitors like dapagliflozin in recent heart failure patients and chronic kidney disease, irrespective of diabetes status, and has emerged as a game changer. So, if we're talking about normal physiology, the SGLT2 receptors is situated in the proximal convoluted tubule in the nephron, and it is responsible for 90% of the glucose reabsorption. So, therefore, inhibiting these receptors will definitely increases the glucose burden in the urine, and therefore there will be increased glucose excretion, glucosuria, and ultimately the blood sugar level will be low. And but this is not the only way the SGLT inhibitors can be prescribed, because not only the glucose lowering effect, it has some other actions also. It increases the intraglomerular pressure, and therefore it is also effective in the renal protective action also. So it is not that the glucose lowering effect is all about the SGLT inhibitors. So We do have unmet needs of treatment of type 2 diabetes mellitus. Conventional anti-diabetic agents, although effective in the early stage, but there is progressive beta cell deterioration in type 2 diabetes mellitus, and ultimately their efficacy goes and the patient comes to us with several complications, and therefore the need for intensification of the therapy arises. However, SGLT2 inhibitors act by inhibiting the reabsorption of glucose in kidney. It's a beta cell salvageable therapy, and it is not affected by the progressive decline in the beta cell function through better glycemic durability, and also effective at any stage of type 2 diabetes mellitus. This glycemic variability is very much important aspect to maintain a particularly sustained level of euglycemia, and SGLT2 inhibitors have definitely shown this. This sustained reduction of the high blood sugar level to maintain a euglycemic status. And not only as a monotherapy, as an add-on therapy along with metformin, SGLT2 inhibitors should be the choice whenever we are thinking about treating diabetes mellitus. Be it the patients who have atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, have some cardiovascular events in the past, needed heart failure, related hospitalization, or suffering from any other renal complication. So these are the one of the important aspects of treating diabetes populations, because they have hypertension, they have dyslipidemia, they are overweight sometimes. So therefore, in these extra glycemic effects can also be contained by prescribing SGLT2 inhibitors, and sometimes in combination of metformin, because it has been shown to decrease the blood pressure level also. Therefore, you can get this extra glycemic benefit. It decreases the weight gain. That has been shown in some of the anti-diabetic drugs, and therefore it has a significant impact in the overall spectrum of the diabetic metabolic complications. And the combination of these two drugs, SGLT2 inhibitors and metformin, can achieve a significant HbA1c level to the target level, as well as can have these extra glycemic benefits, and the overall efficacy and safety profile is definitely well established, and the overall adverse effects are also less. Therefore, this combination should be one of the important aspects of prescribing anti-diabetic drugs. And if we are talking about 2021 American Diabetes Association guidelines for type 2 DM, then also we can see that the metformin along with SGLT2 inhibitors and GLP-1 receptor agonists are one of the very important aspects of first-line therapy in patients of type 2 diabetes mellitus. It is not that only those patients who have already incidents of atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, myocardial infarction, heart failure, but also who have a high risk factors for occurrence of such kind of diseases are also will be getting benefit by these SGLT2 inhibitors. If we are talking about 2020 AAC guideline, then they have categorized the treatment by HbA1c level. If it is entry-level HbA1c less than 7.5%, you can opt for monotherapy, and in that scenario, metformin, GLP-1 receptor agonist, SGLT2 inhibitors, you have a choice. If you have entry-level HbA1c between 7.5 to 9%, then the dual therapy, be it the SGLT2 inhibitors, GLP-1 receptor agonist, or triple therapy, along with insulin and some other anti-diabetic drugs, you can go. And if your HbA1c level more than 9%, you can go with insulin and some other important anti-diabetic drugs that definitely includes SGLT2 inhibitor as well as GLP-1 receptor agonist. So SGLT2 inhibitors has established its role as one of the very important aspects of therapy in patients with type 2 diabetes. 2019 ACC and AHA guidelines has also recommended that for adults with type 2 diabetes mellitus and additional ASCVD risk factors who require glucose lowering therapy despite initial lifestyle modifications and metformin, it may be reasonable to initiate SGLT2 inhibitors or a GLP-1 receptor agonist. Now I'll be talking about DAPA-HF trial, where it has been clearly established that prescribing SGLT2 inhibitors in patients who have heart failure are definitely getting important benefits by this newer generation of therapy. So, type 2 DM, drug-naive patients or on metformin as an add-on or as a monotherapy, SGLT2 inhibitors has definitely its important role. Dapagliflozin has important role in treatment of type 2 diabetes mellitus and the giving of a significant benefit in terms of cardiovascular outcomes. So, we have various trials which involves a large amount of SGLT2 inhibitors and large amount of database. But I'll be talking about dapagliflozin today. We'll be talking about DECLARE-TRIMI, DAPA-HF and DAPA-CKD trial. So Coming to cardiovascular safety, the DECLARE TIMID study. DECLARE TIMID study was done to show the cardiovascular safety profile of the dapagliflozin, and the sample size was almost 17,160 patients with type 2 diabetes with at risk of atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease. Approximately 40% had prior ACVD were included. Median duration of follow-up was 4.2 years, and patient randomized to receive either 10 mg of dapagliflozin daily or placebo. And the primary safety endpoint was no increase in major adverse cardiovascular events, and primary efficacy endpoint was hospitalization from heart failure and CV death hospitalization from heart failure. And both the aspects are shown to be decreased by prescribing dapagliflozin 10 mg once daily, lesser incidence of hospitalization from heart failure by 27%, and overall CV death decreased by 17%. So DECLARE TIMID study has clearly shown a significant cardiovascular benefit with dapagliflozin. It has established its safety profile as well as its efficacy, and therefore dapagliflozin should be in the prescription of those patients who have high ACVD. Even if we are talking about the trials, then also 60% of the patients did not have ACVD. So therefore, dapagliflozin are also safe in those populations. Based on the trial data, it is clearly now well established that the dapagliflozin is very much safe and cardiovascular safe in terms of treating diabetic patients. Coming to heart failure, so we all know that the burden of heart failure is also increasing. I have been saying this in several of the other videos also. So mortality rate is very high in cases of patients who had once admitted for heart failure related symptoms and needed injectable therapy. Therefore, treatment of heart failure should be always guideline based. Along with that, those patients who have diabetes, these SGLT2 inhibitors can give a significant benefits. Large clinical trials involving patients with type 2 DM have shown that the SGLT2 inhibitors reduce the risk of hospitalization for heart failure, and it may slow the progression of the cardiac and renal disease regardless of cause of independent of the presence or absence of diabetes. That is what about the DAPA-HF trial. And the DAPA-HF trial actually incorporated 4,744 patients in 20 countries. Inclusion criteria was NYHA class 2 to 4, heart failure, LVEF, LV ejection fraction 40% or less, and NT-proBNP 600 or more or 400 or more in those patients who had in the hospitalization in the last 1 year. In case of atrial fibrillation and flutter, the cutoff was 900. Exclusion was EGFR less than 30 and systolic blood pressure less than 95 and type 1 diabetes. And the patients were followed up in 2 arms. One of them received 10 mg once daily and another is placebo. The median duration of follow-up was 18.2 months. And it showed that the primary composite outcome, that is the composite of worsening heart failure or cardiovascular death, was reduced by 26% with a statistically significant value, and all-cause mortality was reduced by 17%. And overall hospitalization from heart failure or cardiovascular death were reduced by 18%, and secondary composite outcome was reduced by 30%. So a significant benefit whenever you are prescribing SGLT2 inhibitors in patients with heart failure with reduced ejection fraction, irrespective of the diabetes. And a significant clinical benefit was seen as early as 28 days. So therefore, it actually rationalizes the early initiation of SGLT2 inhibitors, dapagliflozin, in those group of patients without delaying this kind of therapy. So it should be started as early as possible. So comparison of DAPA-HF and EMPEROR-Reduced trial. The EMPEROR-Reduced trial actually did not achieve the statistical significance in terms of the mortality benefit, where DAPA-HF trial has clearly shown. So here lies the importance of this prescribing dapagliflozin, and DAPA-HF trial actually revolutionized the treatment of heart failure, because not in the diabetic population, those patients who had no diabetes were also getting benefit by prescribing SGLT2 inhibitors, dapagliflozin, whenever they are having the symptoms of heart failure. And later update from several guidelines also include the SGLT2 inhibitor, one of the important aspects of therapy in cases of heart failure. Coming to CKD, chronic kidney disease, we all know that the prevalence of CKD is also getting higher in all over the world. One of the reasons in the Indian subcontinent is the increased burden of diabetes, but there are some other reasons also. But it is not deniable. It is not deniable that diabetes has an increasing burden in the renal overall function. And therefore, patients with kidney disease have a high risk of adverse kidney and cardiovascular outcome. And CKD is an important contributor to illness and is associated with a diminished quality of life and reduced life expectancy. SGLT2 inhibitors decreases glycated hemoglobin levels and have shown favorable effects on kidney and cardiovascular outcome in large clinical trials involving patients with type 2 DM. It is the DAPA CKD trial. The key inclusion criteria was eGFR 25 to 75 ml per minute per 1.7 centimeters square of body surface area. Urinary albumin excretion was 200 to 5,000 and stable maximum tolerated level dose of ACE inhibitors or ARB in the last 4 weeks. Exclusion criteria was type 1 diabetes, polycystic kidney disease, lupus nephritis, ANCA-associated vasculitis, or immunosuppressive therapy within 6 months prior to enrollment. And almost 4,304 patients were followed, and this study was presented in 2020 ESC. The trial was stopped in March 2020 because of clear efficacy in the arm of the patients who were getting dapagliflozin 10 mg once daily. So therefore, median duration of follow-up was 2.4 years, and it did show that the primary composite endpoint, which was prescribed in the trial as a sustained decline in eGFR 50% or more, end-stage kidney disease or death from renal or cardiovascular disease were decreased by 39%. That's important and aspects of therapy with these SGLT2 inhibitors. And the secondary composite endpoint was decreased by 44% with NNT of 19. So therefore, DAPA CKD has clearly shown that the composite death from cardiovascular causes or hospitalization for heart failure was decreased by 29% in the dapagliflozin arm, and the death from any cause was reduced by 31% in these chronic kidney disease patients. Therefore, not only targeting the blood sugar level, but controlling this renal function is very much important. And in that aspect, dapagliflozin is clearly one of the most important drugs whenever you are prescribing anti-diabetic drugs to diabetic populations. Diabetic populations are also prone to go for chronic dialysis, kidney transplantation, and ultimately death. Therefore, the DAPA CKD trial also studied in that aspects, and it showed that the requirement for this chronic dialysis, kidney transplantation, and renal death was decreased by 34%, and it was irrespective of the underlying etiology. That means that patients who have a diabetic nephropathy or glomerulonephritis or ischemic or hypertensive complications due to CKD or CKD of any other unknown cause, all the spectrum of the chronic kidney disease populations were getting benefited by receiving dapagliflozin, and it has maintained throughout all the spectrum of underlying etiology for this chronic kidney disease. In patients of CKD, dapagliflozin reduced the risk of kidney failure, death from cardiovascular cause, or heart failure-related hospitalization and all-cause mortality, regardless of the underlying etiology of kidney disease. That is one of the important aspects. So, dapagliflozin is definitely one of the important therapy in patients who are having diabetes, who are having heart failure, who are having some ASCVD, atherosclerotic cardiovascular disease, or having some degree of renal complications. Therefore, dapagliflozin should be in every prescription of diabetic patients to give them a significant benefit. And with this, I conclude this session because dapagliflozin has now established its role, and if anybody has some questions, you can give me in the chat box and I will try to answer it. And thank you very much. And with this, I like to extend my sincere thanks to all the